The Doctor. In the TARDIS. Next stop, everywhere.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Next Stop Everywhere, the Doctor Who podcast. I'm your host, Charles Skaggs, back in the TARDIS once again, ready to talk more Doctor Who with my partner in time, my OG partner in time, back in the TARDIS once again as well. Welcome back, Jesse Jackson.
Yay! Hey,
Yay.
Charles. So glad to be here.
Yes.
It is. I always love talking Doctor Who with you. I have to share, I have loved hearing all the fill-in hosts. I think they have done a great job. You guys are keeping the home fires burning. But yes, I'm excited to be back in the co-host chair, ready to talk a little Peter Capaldi, but not that Peter Capaldi.
Well, it's Peter Capaldi, but not as the Doctor, as it turns out. So here at episode 143, we're going to talk The Fires of Pompeii, which is...
and you know, I love Karen Gillan as a companion.
There goes my rhythm, right there, right down the tune. Derailed. So yeah, we'll talk about Karen Gillan as well.
Go ahead, just restart. Go ahead. So
No,
we're going to talk
okay.
about Fires of Pompeii. Go ahead.
We're going to talk. Let's check. All right, take two. We're going to talk The Fires of Pompeii. Written by James Moran, directed by Colin Teague. This was the second episode of Series 4 that aired on April 12th, 2008, if you can believe it. That thing's 11 years old already. Starring David Tennant as the 10th Doctor and Catherine Tate as Donna Noble. And it's a really fun episode. Just did my rewatch yesterday and had a lot of fun enjoying it.
I rewatched it yesterday too, and the same thing. I thought the same things, and we're gonna get some specifics, but it was a really good rewatch.
Yeah. And a lot of notable cast, a lot of notable because a couple of the actors have gone on to do other things here on Doctor Who, which we'll run down when we run down the cast. So what's your general thoughts of this story before we get into that?
It was really good. I really liked the interaction, and I think the actual kind of plot was okay. I mean, it was some interesting things, but by far the biggest.
It's a pretty basic, like, okay, there's a threat, we have to deal with it.
Yeah, there's a villain, da-da-da. You know, we got to see a squirt gun, and that was funny. Got to see the psychic papers. But by far the most interesting part is this is the first time, if I believe, they specifically talked about fixed points in time. Now, I remember your saying you can't go back and change you know, the past. Not one moment, but then the other points, you do see him change the time. And so I love that.
Well, we kind of got a little bit of that with Father's Day.
Yes.
When the Ninth Doctor told Rose Tyler, hey, you can't, we can't change anything.
Yeah.
But as far as the specific words fixed point in time, I can't recall exactly when that was first used.
And so, according to Wikipedia or TARDISpedia, this was the first time that was used.
Oh, okay.
Very, very, and I think that concept is what really makes this interesting to discuss.
Right. So we this is also the Doctor kind of reset, as we're on the subject of trivia. The Doctor reuses the phrase Volcano Day, which, if you remember, again from the Ninth Doctor era, that's where the Ninth Doctor and Captain Jack Harkness used the term in the episode The Doctor Dances.
Yes.
So we got a nice little callback to that. And now, two of the notable cast that we're going to talk about here. Obviously, we have Peter Capaldi, who plays Lobus Caeceilus, or Caeceilus.
I don't know, Charles. Is he really worth talking about? I mean, what's he ever done?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's only done, he was John Frobisher in Torchwood, Children on Earth. He was Malcolm Tucker in The Thick of It. And he played a WHO doctor in World War Z, which I always think. Yeah, so it's kind of funny that the guy who ends up playing Doctor Who
was
played
a
Who doctor, exactly,
yes.
in World War Z. So, and then of course, he did this little thing where he was the 12th Doctor on Doctor Who.
Yes.
Yeah, from 2014 to 2017, I believe. So yeah, no big deal there, right?
No big deal.
Yeah. So Peter Capaldi. So Peter joins kind of like a very select club because, like with Colin Baker, who appeared in Arc of Infinity, he went on. Colin went on to become the 6th Doctor after appearing in a Peter Davison story. And so here we have Peter Capaldi becoming the Doctor after appearing in a 10th Doctor story, which I thought was kind of neat.
Absolutely.
And then, of course, David Bradley, who was in Dinosaurs on a Spaceship, 11th Doctor story, he goes on to become the 1st Doctor in Twice Upon a Time. So that was pretty cool. And, of course, he played William Hartnell in Adventures in Space and Time, that TV movie. So a very select club there. We also get Karen Gillan, whose name you may have heard of on Next Stop Everywhere once or twice.
Oh yeah, she later went on to be Guardians of the Galaxy, so I guess that's where we know her from, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So she plays a soothsayer here, one of those Sibylline Sisterhood members with the little eyeballs on the back of their hands. They hold them up, do all little gesture there to kind of look like they're just seeing with different eyes. Well, she played Nebula in Guardians of the Galaxy and also a couple of Avengers movies. And she was also Martha in Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, and maybe a little thing where she played Amy Pond on Doctor Who.
Yes.
During Matt Smith's run from Series 5 all the way to halfway through Series 7. And then, of course, she returned in his final episode, The Time of the Doctor. But, so very cool to see Karen Gillan here. So we have a future Doctor and a future companion in the story. So very trippy kind of to see that. And, obviously this is one of the big, kind of like a thing that kind of launched her career, really.
Absolutely.
This episode. Obviously she took off when she became Amy Pond, but still pretty cool.
Absolutely.
I think we also, while we're running down the cast, we also have Tracy Childs, who played Metella, the wife of Lobus Caeceilus. She's played by she ended up playing a companion herself, the 7th Doctor's companion on the Big Finish audio adventures. So played Elizabeth Klein, if you're familiar at all with that companion. And then she also played Elaine Jenkinson on Broadchurch, which of course is a lot of Doctor Who connections as well. And then we also had Phil Davis, who played Lucius Petrus Dextrus, and he's been in the Big Finish audio adventure for the 8th Doctor era called The Cannibalists. He played a character named Titus in that. But you may know him primarily from the very first Sherlock episode, A Study in Pink, where he played Jeff the taxi driver, who turned out to be the villain of the story.
Okay, yes, that's right.
Remember You remember that guy?
Mm-hmm.
And if you're an Alien buff, he played a character named Kevin in Alien 3.
Okay.
So look for that. Alien 3 had a lot of notable British actors, including Charles Dance, who went on to become Tywin Lannister on Game of Thrones.
Ah, very nice.
So a lot of cool actors in that one. Victoria Wicks played the High Priestess, and she's been in the movie The Imitation Game with Benedict Cumberbatch, and she was also in A Study in Pink, the first Sherlock episode.
Nice.
We have a couple of Sherlock connections with this story, so I thought I'd run that down. And other than that, you ready for our main topics?
Yes.
Right. So I do have a theme. Should be pretty obvious once we get going. So for topic number 1, the last days of Pompeii.
Okay.
I'll leave that there for now. And this I want to talk about the 10th Doctor and Donna Noble as they arrive what they think is Rome, but is actually Pompeii, and it's the day before Volcano Day. So, slight awkwardness here. So they arrive on the day that Pompeii is about to go kablooey. Mount Vesuvius is about to explode. So I want to get your thoughts on the 10th Doctor and Donna in Rome, in Pompeii, rather.
So, if you've listened to any episodes of this podcast, you know that David Tennant is my favorite Doctor. So always good to talk a Tennant episode.
Right.
Love seeing him back in the TARDIS. I have also been very clear that I am not a big Donna Noble fan.
Right.
However, as we've gone back and rewatched shows,
yes,
I have found the charm of Donna. And I think it was just because, as you're mainlining episodes,
right,
things are so different, and you get used to a certain tone, and then when it changes, it can sometimes be difficult. She's really good in this episode. I think really good, and I think really good. One of my complaints about her is sometimes she's just a little bit too loud or brass, or just too out there.
Right, too sharp.
Yeah.
Too blunt.
Yeah. And I really liked her in this, and I liked her pointing about we have to do something.
Right. Donna to me seems like the conscious.
Yes.
The most aware of the companions, at least, especially the modern era. She's the one who's like, okay, she's the one that kind of checks Tennant's godlike Doctor, and she's the down to earth going, okay, like Mr. Fancy Pants, what about so and so? What about these people that are going to die?
Yeah, and I think one of the things that
she's the most real, I think, of the companions.
And I think one of the reasons I didn't like her originally is I felt like they were pushing, okay, they've had 2 companions in a row that have romantic feelings about the Doctor. We're going to stress we're not doing that this time.
Right.
Now that there's been some time passed from that, I really like that. I really like the running gag.
It works much better when the companions aren't romantically involved with the Doctor.
And there's the recurring theme of people thinking they're a couple, and the awkwardness of no.
Yes.
It just, there's a lot to like about their companionship, and her pushing him to no, we'll talk about this because that's a payoff.
Yes.
Save at least one. That you can't save everyone, but you can save at least someone. And I really like that. I just thought this was seeing David run around with his swishy coat and the sonic papers and his
The psychic paper, yeah.
Yeah, psychic papers and his whole squirt gun. It was just, and there's always quick dialogue and fun banter. So I really liked it. How about you going back to visit? What were your thoughts? I had not seen this, by the way.
Yeah.
In a long time, I had not rewatched this.
Probably since you originally watched it the first time.
Yes, I would think so. Yes.
Okay, so that's one of the charms here at Next Stop Everywhere.
That's right.
Where we get to go back and revisit episodes you may not have thought about in a good while. And as for Donna, I like Donna in this primarily because she's the companion that pushes the Doctor to do the right thing.
Yes.
She's the kind of Jiminy Cricket conscience on his shoulder, going, "Look, you might want to rethink this." And I know you're looking like, well, Mr. Fixed Points in Time, we can't do anything, but okay, if we can't save everybody, like you said, can't we just save this one family? Mm-hmm. How is that going to mess with time?
Yeah.
And, well, I mean, a little bit you would think it would mess with time, but maybe it just doesn't have an overall effect.
Yeah, and they're not a big fan of the butterfly effect. This is, I guess, being a Time Lord, he can tell what to do and what not to do.
Yeah, but Donna's looking like, okay, look, there's this teenage girl and her teenage brother, and they haven't even lived their lives yet.
Yeah.
And you're condemning them to die. And you could save them.
Exactly. Yes.
And that's one of the things I really like about Donna. Yes, she can be a bit obnoxious sometimes, and she could be a little bit overbearing, but she comes at it. She has pardon the pun, a very noble spirit.
Yes. Yes.
And she, looks out for people and grounds the Doctor, and that's why I think her dynamic with the 10th Doctor works so well, is because here he is, Mr. like, I've lived, almost 2,000 years or 1,000 years at this point. Mm-hmm. And here she is, she's just like, this ordinary like temp from Chiswick. Mm-hmm. And so kind of like Rose in the sense that, okay, you have an ordinary person paired with the Doctor, but I think because Donna is older, she brings a different perspective and a much more maturity to things than Rose had. Because Rose was looking through, her rose-colored glasses at the Doctor, dreaming of her little boy, wanting him to be her boyfriend.
Yes.
And Donna doesn't see it that way. Donna sees it like an adult, and that's why I find her more charming as a result.
Yeah. And I think that's a theme where, later they expand on that, where Amy tells him you shouldn't travel alone, and
right.
Other companions talk about that, and he acknowledges that. So yes,
and that he needs those companions to kind of ground him, so that he doesn't get too full of himself. He doesn't become all Time Lord victorious.
Yes,
as we find out in the Waters of Mars. Mm-hmm. That it's almost like a symbiotic relationship the Doctor has with his companions. He needs them as much as they need him.
Yes.
And and the trade-off for them being shown the wonders of the universe is that they keep him from getting too out of control.
I absolutely agree with that, Charles.
So hopefully, that's the way I see it, at least. I'm sure other people see it differently, but that's the way I feel about it.
Yeah.
But Donna in this sense is, she's looking out for this family. She's like, look, we just met these people and they seem like really nice people, so why should they die? Mm-hmm. And you have Tennant, the 10th Doctor, I should say. He instead of just picking up and leaving right there, he kind of like, I think he agrees to stay, and he makes a comment about this. Like, once he sees that, well, hey, there's these circuits that are carved out of stone. They look like a circuit board.
It did look like a circuit board.
And when I find that really intriguing. So something's up here, and that ultimately leads him to the mystery of, the pyroviles and their plans and why these carvings are so important. And that's what hooks him. And it's not really the whole thing of the people themselves, because he's very quick to want to leave. But it's the mystery that makes him want to stay. Which
is so typical of the Doctor, no matter what persona of the Doctor. Right. I mean, going back to, the first Doctor, he pretends that the part's broken so he can discover this, mystery that he wants to know.
Right. Mm-hmm. And Donna and Tennant have some good funny Catherine Tate and David Tennant have some funny scenes where Donna's she's asking the question, well, because of the TARDIS translation circuits, we kind of get a better explanation about how they work. And, she's speaking Latin, and she's like, well, what if I intentionally try to speak Latin? What would happen then? And we find out that, everybody thinks that she's speaking Celtic.
Yes.
And that makes for some very funny moments, I thought.
That is very funny. Yeah, the idea is if you try to speak the actual language, it will come across as some other language someone doesn't understand.
Right.
So, yeah, very, very funny.
Yep. And then, of course, ultimately everything builds to this big climactic moment where the 10th Doctor has to make that choice. And Donna is pleading with him at this point. He goes back in the TARDIS. He's ready to take off and leave everybody. And Donna is begging him, imploring him to return to save that family. And he does. Mm-hmm. And then, there's that big dramatic moment where the TARDIS rematerializes and he's standing there in the doorway. It's all backlit. And his arm is extended out, kind of in the, come with me if you want to live kind of thing.
Well, he does say, come with me. Yeah. He does not. I was waiting for the...
Yeah, the Terminator reset.
Yeah, but no, they didn't go all that way.
They didn't go full Terminator on that.
No, but it was, that was a wonderful shot scene.
Right.
It looks great. Absolutely.
And then Lobus Caeceilus reaches out, and so the very, very dramatic that. Mm-hmm. And then afterwards, the Doctor, after rescuing the family, and they go off and they end up in Rome, and they kind of set up a new life 6 months later. And we'll talk more about them here in a minute. But
okay.
But afterwards, the Doctor tells Donna that she was right in doing what she did. That sometimes, he needs that reminder.
Yes, he does. And I thought that was a really lovely moment at the end. In fact, that's one of my quotes.
Yeah.
What he says.
It brings the episode full circle, and
it does,
and it shows that Donna's actions were justified.
Absolutely. So I love that, and it was so good. Yeah.
Yeah. Very good. All right. Anything else about the 10th Doctor and Donna before we move on?
No, that's good.
All right. Second topic. So since we were talking about the Caeceilus family, let's keep talking about them. And with topic number 2, Doomsday Prophecy. Mm-hmm. So we had the last days of Pompeii and now Doomsday Prophecy. And I'll explain more as we keep going. But so I want to talk about the Caeceilus family, and I also want to talk about the Sibylline Sisterhood, who are kind of connected to the family because of the young daughter, whose name is escaping me at the moment. Mm-hmm. What is her name? Driving me nuts. But let's see, the son is Quintus. And I can't remember the daughter's name, but that's all right. It'll come to me. But essentially, they're training her to become one of the sisterhood, and because she has a potential for prophecy, and she has this talent, and she's inhaling these vapors, and we kind of get the explanation for the vapors.
Evelina,
yes.
Evelina,
thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, Evelina. So thank you
for
IMDb. Yeah, hooray for coming to our rescue. So Evelina is inhaling these vapors, and as it turns out, she's starting to turn to stone.
Yes.
Which is one of the intriguing things, parts of this mystery.
You could have gone ELO lyrics. Turn to stone. Turn to stone. Okay, never mind.
That brings up unpleasant memories of Love and Monsters that I'm just going to leave right there. All right. So, I want to get your thoughts on this family and also about the Sibylline sisterhood.
The family was very interesting. Played very normal, middle class.
Right.
Dad's trying to get ahead.
Right.
Hey, I'm the marble guy. You need marble? Come see me. I thought that was really well done. We
find out he's like an art collector too.
Yeah. And and of course he's buying weird stuff that his wife doesn't understand, including the box.
Right.
He's like, it's modern art. I love it.
Yeah, the TARDIS gets sold to him by a vendor. And that's how what leads the Doctor and Donna to hook up with them.
Yeah, it's on my stall. I sold it.
Yeah.
Which was just wonderful. I love the the son being kind of the rebel.
Quintus,
Yeah, you're hanging out with Christians.
Yeah, those bad influences. Yeah, because we know how the Romans felt about Christians back in the day.
Yeah, so it was very much kind of very just very set them up. You could see why Donna cares them.
They were even though there were these characters from back in 79 AD.
Yeah,
they were very relatable. And that's a credit to James Moran's writing, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
That he made them you wouldn't think you could connect to these characters. And Donna is probably one of the reasons why Donna felt sorry for them, knowing because she knows hey, these people are destined to die. So and it's all she can do to keep from telling them. And she finally tells the daughter Evelina, who ends up kind of broadcasting this to the Sibylline sisterhood through her little link to them, and then that's how they get involved. So what did you think of the sisterhood?
So I think the whole eyes on their hands was a great image.
Right. Like they're seeing through another set of eyes.
Yeah. By the way, for you, since this is an audio podcast, both Charles and I put our hands in front of our eyes.
We did the Sibylline sisterhood hand thing.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Though neither one of us went that far to draw an eye on our hand.
Yeah, I could get a marker and just put one on there.
Someday, just side note, we should record us discussing and put that on, YouTube.
No, I don't think the internet is ready for that.
Oh, I think it would be great. I would have to make sure it's one of the days where I shower before we talk. Yeah. Sometimes Charles has to see my bed hair. So I loved the interaction. There's a lot of great dialogue. These aren't fake seers.
Right.
Because there's a lot of great scenes. It's one of my quotes, but I will they mention you have something on your back.
Yeah,
which is a flash forward, kind of a shout out to what's coming up.
Yeah, we get a couple teases toward the end of the season. They kind of tease the for one that whole there's something on your back. That's a tease, obviously, for the beetle that's on Donna Noble's back.
Have we talked that episode?
We have not turn left yet.
We should. Put that on our list.
We'll put that on our list, but that one's out there.
Okay.
And then also we get the tease of Rose Tyler, because the Sibylline sisters say that, it was Evelina who's saying that she is returning soon. And obviously at this point we had no idea that. Well, actually, no, we kind of did because we saw Rose at the beginning of the season in Partners in Time at that ending. So we kind of had an idea that that Rose was coming back, but the Doctor, of course, didn't know that yet.
Yeah. Okay.
So we had a couple of teases there. So yeah, they do, and obviously we find out that because they're essentially inhaling these vapors that are coming straight from Vesuvius, straight from the pyroviles. They're essentially, that's probably why their powers of prophecy are kind of augmented here.
Yeah.
Is because of these alien influences of the pyroviles.
I think you're right. Yeah, that's what I get the feeling too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not really laid out clearly, I think, but that's the kind of gist that I got from it, was that the reason they have these augmented powers more than normal people would is because of their connection to the pyroviles.
Mm-hmm.
And they're trying to bring Evelina in, and we find out through the course of the story that they're all kind of turning to stone. There's this very their big leader we find out is entirely covered in stone from head to toe, and she seems okay with it.
Yeah,
because
she didn't care.
She didn't care. She says she's kind of in pain, but she says that's the price of the gifts that she's receiving. And she sees it as more of a gift from the gods, not knowing that the pyroviles are the ones behind this, not the gods.
Yeah, and the male actor,
the guy that played Lucius Petrus.
Yeah,
he's turning to stone as well.
Yeah, it was good to see him. He is, as you talked about, he's a great character actor.
Yes, he is. Yeah, he's if you ever watched the series Whitechapel, he's on that, and he's really good. That's a really good British drama, Whitechapel. I recommend checking that out too.
Okay.
But there's a great moment in this episode where the 10th Doctor and Lucius are kind of facing off, and they're both trying to be out clever the other one, essentially. And the Doctor extends his hand out and wanting Lucius Petrus to shake it in greeting, and Lucius is like, not really feeling that, and he's like, come on, and then all of a sudden the 10th Doctor reaches out and grabs his arm and snaps it off, because we find out that he's been keeping it under a cloak because it's turned to stone.
Yeah.
So he's walking around with no arm.
Now,
through the rest of the episode.
This took me out of it shortly, just for a moment, because I don't think shaking hands was a thing in Roman. Because I believe shaking hands started more in medieval times because of something about it. That's the only thing, because he was looking like, what the hell do you want me to do? But then it became the stone. So.
Well, they did. I was watching, I was a big fan of the series Rome.
Yes.
On HBO. And they kind of did this hands clasping thing, which I'm showing like they grab their wrists.
Yeah.
So if you think about it, the handshake kind of probably just grew from that.
Okay, that makes sense.
Cause we kind of clasp each other by the forearms. And then, as a kind of bonding thing. But.
Yeah.
I think it kind of just devolved into a handshake from that, I'm guessing.
I could be wrong.
No,
according to Mr. Google, it.
Not Mrs. Google?
Yes. Yeah. The history of handshake dates back to the 5th century BC in Greece. It was a symbol of peace, showing that neither person was carrying a weapon. During the Roman era, the handshake was actually more of an arm grab. So, points to Charles. Well done.
Thank you.
Yes,
all right.
Yay.
Don't ask me how I knew that. I just knew that.
Yeah, that's okay.
So, but I'll take the points.
Yeah.
All right. So points for Charles on that one. But Lucius is essentially like this, kind of like the Pyroval's lead guy. He's out there. He's the one trying to get these circuits together, these marble circuits. I'm not exactly sure how marble circuits work, but okay.
Yeah.
We'll roll with it. Because especially since they're all segmented, so they're not exactly connected. But apparently the design is what mattered. And that's apparently all designed to power the spaceship, and that's kind of their thing. So while we're on the subject of Lucius, let's go into our third topic, Backdraft. So we had Last Days of Pompeii. Doomsday Prophecy, and Backdraft.
Now, Backdraft was the Kurt Russell movie directed by Ron Howard. Yeah, about firefighters. Yeah. So I assume these are all about fires?
Or disaster movies.
Disaster movies, okay.
Yeah, this is a disaster movie theme. The Last Days of Pompeii, to give everybody some background, that was a 1959 movie starring Steve Reeves, who went on to do a bunch of Hercules movies back in the 50s. Doomsday Prophecy is a very obscure TV movie. It's from 2011. The reason I brought it up was because it starred Jewel Staite, who, if you're a Firefly fan, you remember played Kaylee Fry.
Yes.
On Firefly. So she's played Kaylee, and she's in that movie. So Doomsday Prophecy, and it worked pretty well with the Sibylline Sisterhood.
Good.
And then Backdraft, that's Kurt Russell, Scott Glenn movie from 1991. So disaster movies.
All right, very nice.
That's the theme for this week. All right.
Good.
So let's talk about Lucius Petrus Dextrus a little bit more, and the Pyroviles. So what did you think of the Pyroviles as a villain?
I think they were okay. As you talked about, there was nothing outstanding about them.
Right.
But they weren't like a dumb villain. It was just, they were a pretty good villain.
Right.
I think it was a really nice episode to set up that, Donna going to the past, getting to see kind of another monster to fight. It was, Tennant got to be clever. The whole, it visually looks very good. It almost looked like a Roman soldier made out of flaming rocks.
Right.
So I thought that was
they
nice.
kind of had that centurion helmet type design.
Yeah, I don't know if they meant that, but that's what it looked like to me, and you would think it would be.
Right.
So I thought they were a perfectly fine villain. Nothing outstanding. It didn't like I go, oh, I'd like to see them again. But for a one-off, I thought they were pretty good. How about you?
Yeah, they were a pretty good one-off villain. I think they could be brought back, but I think you have to have, for that type of villain, you have to have like a human representative to make them more menacing, I think.
Okay. Good. I could see that.
Yeah, an agent of theirs, and that's what Lucius Petrus Dextrus does here. So we find out essentially that the whole big plan of the Pyroviles is to use Vesuvius to set up what's called a fusion matrix to convert millions of humans into Pyroviles. And then the matrix will bleed off so much of Vesuvius's pent-up energy there won't be enough to trigger this explosion. But they want to use that to essentially set the world for conquest by creating all these Pyroviles. So it's not really that they're trying to get off Earth as we think. It's just they're ready. They're just like, okay, we need more Pyroviles, and this is how we're going to make some.
Yeah.
And that's their plan. And but that gets stopped, of course, by the Doctor. And the Doctor, we didn't really talk about this during the 10th Doctor segment, but the Doctor is ultimately revealed to be the one responsible for Vesuvius's eruption. And that's for someone who didn't want to be involved in a fixed point in time, essentially he's part of that.
Yeah, and that's a common.
Yeah, it's kind of especially with time travel stories, they use that a lot. It's a common trope that, that where the person that is trying to avoid being part of history becomes part of history.
Absolutely.
And much to the Doctor's horror, it's kind of like when we were watching the episode Rosa, and the 13th Doctor realized that she and her companions had to be the people on the bus, and they couldn't interfere with what was going on. So kind of that same thing. They became part of the events.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but that kind of look on his horror on his face that he realized because essentially he's given this choice okay, do I let these 20,000 people in Pompeii die, or do I let the whole world die because they're all going to get turned into Pyroviles who are going to run amok over Earth?
Yep, that's it.
And that's his dilemma.
Mm-hmm.
And he chooses, of course, the lower number, the 20,000, but which really shouldn't have been much of a choice because that was established history, right? So,
exactly.
Yeah, it's kind of like a bootstrap paradox.
Yes.
He's the one that creates it, but it was created before him, so that's how he knew about it. So,
yeah, there you go.
And now I've gone cross-eyed. But anyway. So anyway, anything else about the Pyroviles or Lucius?
Nope.
You want to talk about?
Nope.
All right. Anything else about this episode that I forgot?
So, we talked about it over, and I did some research just how much I love the show.
Right.
The idea that, this established the Doctor needing someone again. They talked about the fixed point of time. And then later, they bring up in Capaldi's era why he picked that face.
Yeah. So why don't you talk about that a little bit?
So the idea was that subconsciously, the Doctor decides that the face is a reminder to save at least one.
Right.
And so I really like that idea. And the because it was in the past they've never discussed why they ended up having to do that. And this is covered very, very lightly in The Girl Who Died.
Yes.
Where they just kind of mention that. And that's why he ends up saving the Maisie Williams a Shielder character. So I thought that was a really interesting thought, and kind of the modern era tries to weave in as much as they can mythology without destroying the past. And so I thought worth discussing. Any thoughts on that?
No, not really.
Okay.
I think you pretty much summed it up.
Do you disagree with that, or do you think that was...
No, okay. I think that's perfectly valid. I thought that was I liked your analogy with The Girl Who Died.
Yeah, and it doesn't, and they didn't have to explain why, but I thought that was kind of nice that they did that. Because
they certainly didn't do that when Peter Davison's Fifth Doctor regenerated into Colin Baker's Sixth Doctor.
Right. They just kind of ignored it.
Because the character that Colin Baker played was Maxwell, this security guard on Gallifrey. And so there was no real connection there. But here they try to give an explanation about why the 12th Doctor looks like this guy that we'd seen before.
And I thought that was nice. I thought they did a good job of that.
And you're absolutely right. They didn't have to, but they chose to.
Yeah, and I think it wasn't so much now, they didn't explain how he could be in Torchwood as well.
Yeah, that's a whole different thing. But
but that's okay. I think this was I give him a lot of credit for that. So good.
Now, if they could have worked in the Torchwood, how that was all the same person.
Could have been pretty cool.
That would have been pretty good. But I still think it would have been cool if the Karen Gillan sister of the Sibylline Sisterhood was actually Amy Pond.
Yeah.
Had transported back in time and was posing as one of the sisters.
Ooh, that would be cool.
Yeah. But
okay. All right. How about you got anything else to cover?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, good.
Just that we had that little bit at the end where after the Caeceilus family has set up shop in Rome, we find out that Quintus has become a doctor, or is in training to become a practitioner of healing arts or whatever, and although his mom calls him a doctor, and then that essentially they've chosen the Doctor and Donna as their household gods, which I thought that was a cute ending.
Stole my rating, but yes.
Oh, okay, sorry.
No, that's okay.
I wouldn't have known that if you hadn't said anything. So, all right. So, do you have any favorite quotes of the episode?
I do have a couple.
Okay.
let me pull up my Word document. I'm going to go with the big one.
Okay.
Donna says, "But I'm history too. You saved me in 2008, saved all of us. Why is that different?" And the doctor says, "Some things are fixed. Some things are in flux. Pompeii is fixed." And Donna, how do you know which is which? Because that's how I see the universe. Every waking second, I can see what is, what was, what could be, what must not. That's the burden of the Time Lord, Donna, and I'm the only one left.
Yep.
I like that because...
That was one of my quotes, too. That's good.
With, not to get on a rant, but Game of Thrones did not use that to try to explain, the three-eyed raven and Bran Stark. They didn't explain his powers. They're trying to explain here. And I think the idea is, I don't know if you remember the comic book. This was a scene in Legion. It stuck with me years ago.
Yeah.
But Invisible Kid was explaining how he could see another dimension, and he held a pin in front. And if you focus on the pin on your fingers, everything behind you looks cloudy. And then if you focus behind you, the pin looks cloudy. And that's how I picture the doctor. The doctor can, depending on what he focuses on, can see things. And I that made a lot of sense to me.
Okay.
All right.
Good. That's a pretty interesting analogy. I hadn't considered that.
And like I said, this actually had a lot of depth to it, this episode, more than you would have just thought, oh, yeah, they went back and they fought a fire monster. How about you, Charles?
Yeah, that wouldn't make for a very lengthy podcast. Certainly wouldn't fill up an hour. So.
No, it wouldn't.
All right, so we had to kind of flesh that out a little bit. One of my favorite quotes was between the doctor and Donna early on. The doctor says, "They don't know what it is. Vesuvius is just a mountain for them. The top hasn't blown off yet. The Romans haven't even got a word for volcano, not until tomorrow." And then Donna goes rather poignantly, "Oh, great. They can learn a new word as they die."
Yeah, she was very much arguing at the beginning.
Right.
I loved the Lucius and the doctor and Donna's discussion because I'm a cynic, and I never, cold reading and warm readings, when people are trying to see the future or read people's minds or talk to the dead. I always am a big skeptic about that.
Right.
So to have this character go, "Is that so, man from Gallifrey?" And Doctor, "What?"
Yeah.
"The strangest image. Your home is lost in fire, is it not?" And Donna goes, "Doctor, what are they doing?" And Lucius, "And you, daughter of London?" Donna, how does he know that? "It is the gift of Pompeii. Every singer oracle tells the truth." Donna, "But that's impossible." Lucius, "Doctor, she is returning." "Who is? Who's she?" "And you, daughter of London, there's something on your back." "What's that mean?" And Evelina, "Even the word doctor is false. Your real name is hidden. It burns in the stars to the cascade of Medusa herself. You're a lord, sir, a lord of time." I just love that feedback because,
it has just like whoa, they know so much about me kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
And probably is some things that the doctor doesn't want to tell Donna just yet.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I like an exchange between Spirina and Donna where she's kind of holding Donna captive, Spirina is. And Spirina goes, "You will be silent." And Donna replies, "Listen, sister, you might have eyes on the back of your hands, but you'll have eyes on the back of your head by the time I'm finished with you."
Yes. And continuing.
So basically that I'll spin your eyes around.
Yeah, and Sabrina also says, "Your prating voice will cease forever." And the doctor, "Oh, that'll be the day."
Yeah.
Which I thought was very nice. My last one was at the very end.
Yeah.
Donna says, "Thank you," after he has saved the family.
Yep.
And the doctor kind of, he's fiddling with the TARDIS. And kind of almost under his breath, "You were right. Sometimes I need someone welcome aboard. And Donna, yeah. And they look at each other. And I thought that was a really nice, one of the things I always love is seeing the companion kind of find their place in the TARDIS.
Right.
And that was the scene. And I just thought that was really well done. And once again, I like Donna more. I just love that.
Well, good. So I'm glad you're getting more of appreciation for Donna.
Yeah. Anything else?
No, I think that's a good one.
Okay.
I think that's a good quote to end on. So
all right, very nice. All right, you go first. Your rating.
All right, my rating. I like this one a lot. I give it 8.5 out of 10 marble circuit boards. So
I like it a little bit more than you. I think, and I gave it 9 out of 10 household gods.
Yeah.
But we could do 9 out of 10 squirt guns.
Okay, that's good.
Hey, Charles.
Yep.
One of the things with all the history, I bet you this reminded you of another episode we could visit.
Your segues are adorable.
Thank you, Charles.
All right. So, yes. So, in our reverse the polarity this week, as we reverse the polarity, the neutron flow, we're going to go back to 1965. All the way back to the first Doctor era, the fourth serial from season 2, The Romans. So if you like the Fires of Pompeii, I definitely recommend The Romans, written by Dennis Spooner. And this is actually, this story was referenced in the Fires of Pompeii. And I'll get to that here in a minute. So with the TARDIS stuck at the bottom of a cliff, the first Doctor, Ian, Barbara, and Vicky have set themselves up in an unoccupied Roman villa. Barbara and Vicky walk to a nearby Roman village where they're spotted by 2 slave traders, Didius and Sevcheria. And when they return to the villa, the Doctor announces, hey, I'm off to Rome, some miles away, and I'm going to travel there with Vicky. So later that evening, Barbara and Ian, now alone, are relaxing when the 2 slavers burst in upon them. They are overpowered and taken prisoner. Ian is sold to one slave owner, while Barbara is to be traded with another and sent to Rome. The Doctor and Vicky are en route to Rome, where they find the murdered body of a lyre player named Maximus Petilian. And the Doctor is holding the man's lyre when a centurion arrives and mistakes him for the dead man, who is late for an engagement in Rome. The Doctor decides to use the alias of Petilian and heads to Rome. Barbara is already there and sold to Tavius, who is a highly placed gentleman in the court of Emperor Nero. And she's to be a handmaiden to Nero's second wife, the Empress Poppaea Sabina. The Doctor and Vicky arrive at Nero's court and encounter Tavius, who seems to imply that the Doctor, that Petilian, is part of a secret network. Ian gets confined to a galley in the Mediterranean, but the craft runs into rough seas and is broken up. He washes up on the nearby shore and is found by another survivor of the galley named Delos. They agree to head to Rome in search of Barbara. And when they arrive, they are captured by centurions and taken to the arena to be trained as gladiators. At the arena, Ian and Delos are set to fight each other, but decide to fight their way out. The Emperor calls off his soldiers, planning to have him killed when he returns to rescue Barbara. The Doctor finds the architectural plans for Nero's new Rome and deduces that since this is the year 64 AD, only 15 years before 79 AD, that the Emperor is planning to destroy the city. Tavius arrives and warns the Doctor that the Emperor is planning to kill him too, advising him to complete his mission and kill Nero soon. When the Doctor realizes that Petilian was an assassin all along. And this is where the connection to the Fires of Pompeii is. The Doctor accidentally sets fire to Nero's plans, and Nero notices this and gets the idea for the Great Fire of Rome, thanks to the Doctor, and decides to spare his life. So if you remember in the Fires of Pompeii, the Doctor talks about this fire that he was sort of responsible for, but not really.
Yeah, not me. Yes, that wasn't
hear you,
my
Jesse.
fault.
You're muted, I think.
Yeah, I think somebody in. Yes. Yeah, that's not me. No, that's not me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Ian is helped into the palace by Tavius, who reunites him with Barbara. Under Tavius's eye, the 2 are allowed to escape and make their way back to the villa. The Doctor and Vicky also escape the city, watching it burn from a nearby hill, kind of like Fires of Pompeii. All four leave in the TARDIS, but have barely begun to travel when a strange force starts dragging the ship into an unknown location. Dun dun dun.
Good.
And so that leads us to the wet planet, but that's a different story. So that's the Romans, a classic from the first Doctor era. So not really like it's more of a historical story, not a like a secret villain, sci-fi villain responsible for everything. But definitely worth checking out if you were kind of in a Roman vibe after watching the Fires of Pompeii.
Very nice. Cool. Okay.
All right. So we don't have any listener feedback. Hoping that we'd have some feedback from Holly, but no such luck. So
well, she is busy. She sent Game of Thrones feedback and Doom Patrol feedback, so we do appreciate it.
Yeah, Titan Talk. So so we're not gonna she does get points there, so we'll let this one slide. But hopefully we hear from Holly again soon. All right.
Absolutely.
But if you want to be like Holly normally and reach us, please email us at nextstopeverywhere.smg@gmail.com. That's nextstopeverywhere.smg for Southgate Media Group @gmail.com. Or you can reach us on Twitter at nextstopsmg on Twitter. Or our Facebook account, Next Stop Everywhere, the Doctor Who podcast. And you can also reach us on the Instagram using the account Next Stop Everywhere Podcast on the Instagram. Please check us out there. Jesse, where can they reach you on the interwebs?
Well, Charles, they can hear us talk about the DC Universe online show Doom Patrol. And you can go back if you are catching up on the Titans on DC Universe. We are on Titan Talk, where you and I talk about the Titans show. Yep. You can hear me for a couple more weeks on a Small Council Matters. That is the podcast that I do to talk about Game of Thrones. We just finished discussing the series finale, and we've got a couple more episodes that we're going to do, just kind of doing some wrap-up. And you can also hear me on Set Leslie Bruce, the Bruce Springsteen podcast, where I talk to Bruce Springsteen fans from around the world. And I have been reached. I am talking to Mammoth University in Jersey about possibly donating my episodes for the Bruce Springsteen archives that they have there. Yes, I know.
Nice.
Yeah, I got to tell you, that made me smile a little.
I'll bet.
Yeah. So the idea was
historically preserved.
Yeah, just like the short stories and articles like Studs Terkel during the Depression, this will give our future historians a snapshot of Springsteen fandom. I'm like, really? I'm just shooting the breeze. But yes, so so you can check that out. Charles, how about you? Where can they hear more of your fine work?
Well, I'm not sure it's museum worthy, but hey, or historical record worthy. But you can check me out at Charles Skaggs on Twitter or at Charles Skaggs on Instagram. Facebook, of course, at Charles Skaggs in Hilliard, Ohio. Would definitely like it if you like and follow me there. Also, my blog of geeky things, if I can get this to go on here.
Damn good coffee. And hot.
Damn good coffee and hot, where I talk about all the stuff we talk about here on Next Stop Everywhere. Kinds of Doctor Who news, Torchwood, Sarah Jane Adventures. We still need to talk some Sarah Jane Adventures on Next Stop Everywhere.
We do.
I have not forgotten about that. And then news of my other podcasts that I do for Southgate Media, including the aforementioned Titan Talk, the Titans podcast, and Ghostwood, the Twin Peaks podcast I do with Zan Sprouse, wife of comic artist Chris Sprouse, where we talk about all things Twin Peaks, David Lynch, etc., whatever pop culture nonsense comes into our brains. And if you listen to Zan here on Next Stop Everywhere, you know that we can throw out one or two pop culture references when we really want to. So please check that out. We definitely appreciate that. And any kinds of other comic book sci-fi news I also talk about in my blog Geeky Things. So any kind of news of Doctor Who coming up, I'll definitely post that as it comes along. So we got the news of the Jadoon coming back. We talked about that.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting. Are they recording now? Are they filming now?
They're filming now. So
okay,
yeah.
Good.
So
okay.
And I know a lot of people are hoping that we'll get. Maybe they talked about that. Maybe we'll get a Christmas special this year.
That would be nice.
That would be nice because the last time we'd heard we were only going to be back in 2020 for new episodes. Mm-hmm. So at least we get one more episode. We'll get one like New Year's Day, and then we'll get the end of the year at Christmas. But at least that's helps fill the gap between now and 2020. So
and hopefully it'll be the spring or something when we get new.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's going to be around March. But
so that'll be. But it would be. I was perfectly fine with the New Year's Day, but there is something special about watching the Doctor on Christmas Day.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people were disappointed by that, so maybe decided, well, hey, okay, this year we'll do a Christmas special again.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll see.
All right, so fingers crossed. Next time,
Charles, yes, I was going to ask you, what do we have coming up next?
All right. And that awkward segue. We're going to talk next time on Next Stop Everywhere. We're going to talk The Enemy of the World. And that is a classic Patrick Troughton era story. We're going to talk that hopefully with Nick Pizzagone, DJ Nick.
Oh, nice.
Making his Next Stop Everywhere debut. I need to get around to kind of coordinating that with him. So we need to get in touch with him because he's on deck next. So, Nick, if you're listening, we need to get in touch with you and make sure I get that done. But anybody else that's interested in filling in as a special guest companion, please drop me a line at nextstopEverywhereSMG@gmail.com or on Twitter at nextstopsmg. Or Facebook at our Facebook account. We'd definitely appreciate that. Always looking for special guest companions. If you like or you think it's been kind of fun listening to the special guest companions talk an episode, if you got an episode you'd like to talk, please let me know. Would love to hear from that. And if you're one of that's already done one and you want to come back, please let me know that as well. I'd love, we know it's been a while since we talked to Christine again, so I'd love to hear from her. So, Christine, if you're listening, please drop me a line if you're inclined. Would love to have you back whenever you want. And anybody else that's in the mood to do another one, drop me a line as well.
Absolutely.
All right.
And then you and I are going to talk again. We're going to do a little behind the scenes and figure out where we're going to record.
Yeah.
So we have some plans.
Yeah, we'll figure this out because this will be at the end of the month of June, so we'll figure that out. And we also need to figure out an episode to talk about.
Yes, we do.
So start thinking of one.
I will.
And in the meantime, though, come on back next time for what are we up to now? Episode 144. We're going to talk The Enemy of the World as we get ever closer to the big Next Stop Everywhere 150th episode. And we're going to need to plan something special for that.
We will.
So start working those brain cells, kids, because we need to come up with a good one. And then in the meantime, though, please come on back, and we'll see you next time right here on Next Stop Everywhere, the Doctor Who podcast.
Yay. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.